Good afternoon, Campbell McCrary here, Amvest Capital in New York City. Welcome to the Amvest Capital Inc. live webinar with Outcrop Silver and Gold. That's OCG on the venture, and on the OTCQX, OCGSF. Hope you'll enjoy today's program. It will be available in on-demand replay about an hour and a half after we wrap up this live session today. The link for the live also will work for the replay. And for that note, please share this event. Go to the share box and you can share it while we're talking here in real time in an email or on social media. Pretty cool. And then over here, important links to their presentation and the stock pages and things. And of course, ask questions of management. That's very important. And ask them in real time right there. And we'll ask them of our hosts today. Amvest is a New York-based specialist investment management and corporate finance firm focused solely on the natural resource space. Please note this important disclaimer. This call is most definitely for informational purposes only. Pleased to have with us today Joe Hebert, the CEO and director, brings more than 30 years of experience in the mining sector, diversified mineral exploration, geology, exploration, management, been part of multiple gold discovery teams in Nevada and Utah, and was instrumental in assembling the company's exploration staff and portfolio in Medellin, Colombia, and attracting the JV partners. So with that, I pass it over to you, Joe, and take all the time you want, and we'll then hit you up with questions.
Okay, appreciate it. Appreciate being here.
Thank you.
Outcrop is active in Colombia. We're drilling our high-grade Santa Ana silver gold project, and we have 4 projects that we're also advancing for joint venture. Forward-looking statements, typical, just the aspect of unforeseen risk, changing what I'm saying. Why Outcrop? We have a very high-grade project. Santa Ana is the highest grade project in Colombia. It was a Spanish colonial mining camp that mined up to 17 kilograms over 1.4 meters. We ourselves have drilled up to 10.8 equivalent silvers, 10.8 kilograms equivalent silver per ton over a meter. And it's a narrow vein system, but there are places where you can composite veins together, 3 or more veins in one zone, and get up to 15 meters at 450 equivalent grams silver per ton. Very strong upside. It's a world-class silver gold system. We've discovered 7 high-grade shoots to date. That's less than 10% of the project being drilled. We're drilling at least 15,000 meters for the rest of this year and the first half of 2022, and we hope to be moving towards a maiden resource decision after we discover a total of 12 shoots. As you've stated, I have 36 years experience in all aspects of economic geology. Probably more importantly is we were able to put Jesus Velador on as VP of Exploration. He has a lot of experience in both Peruvian and Mexican high-grade silver mines underground. Most notably, when he was with Fresnillo Mag, he discovered Juancipio, which is now going in production. He has a master's and a doctorate, respectively, from Texas and New Mexico, dealing with high-angle veins. Ian Slater's our chair. He's a very active mining entrepreneur with other companies in Colombia. Just a company snapshot, we've got 132 million shares outstanding. We have fully diluted 206 million shares. We've actually just had 3 million of those warrants expire, and another 3 million are expiring in March. The average weighted exercise price is 44 cents. Eric Sprott owns 14.9% of the company. We have about 10% in funds, and management owns 25% of the company. If you track the Fraser Institute investment ranking that comes out every year for attractiveness attractive jurisdictions for mining. This is the first year Colombia is rated #1 as a country, coming in ahead of both Chile and Peru. That can be directly attributed to a rapidly increasing decrease in security risk, and also the country permitting 6 modern mines in the last few years. 2 advanced projects. I'll talk about Santa Ana. We also have MALLAMA. MALLAMA is probably one of the biggest epithermal vein systems known in Colombia. It covers over 100 square kilometers with footprint, and we have over 100 kilometers of vein mapped. The project's 100% owned. It has highway access, grid power, water, strong community support, and excellent security conditions. We've made 7 discoveries. That's on 10 targets, or more or less a 70% success rate on our drill targets. We have a weighted average grade right now from 93 holes with intercepts better than 200 grams silver that average 1.5 kilograms equivalent silver per ton. That's made up of almost 9 grams gold and almost 860 grams silver. We've been working in an area of about 1.2 kilometers by 4 kilometers. We've discovered 7 chutes. You can see some of the highlights there. On the right, Megapozo is 0.95 meters of 10.7 kilograms. Roberto Tovar, our thicker chute, 5.16 meters of 800 equivalent grams silver. Our exploration goals are to identify 12 chutes total, or 7 more in 2021, early 2022, and then to continue and build on the potential by regional exploration on the 28,000 hectares. It's exciting because we have enough drill density in several areas where we can do preliminary block modeling and start to see where we have potential resource areas. We have exceptional grade contours for a potential future mining scenario. All the chutes we have are open laterally and at depth. This is another potential resource area, is the El Dorado, 8 holes supporting more than 100 meters by 100 meters, again open. That purple contour is greater than 800 grams silver per ton. On the left to right is at Megapozo. It's shown on topo because it does dip at 46 degrees, so that's a projection in the plan. But about 300 by 200 meters of high grade and again open. The last resource area is the La Ivana. We resolved with some recent drilling that it's actually 2 chutes stacked on top of each other. These are about 200 meters by 200 meters of high grade and again open. If you combine the resource areas together, these last few slides, you have about 1,700 meters by 300 meters depth, averaging about 0.7 true thickness. It's a prolific mining district and silver gold belt. We don't have just a mine area or a district. We really have a regional belt. We have up to 60 kilometers cumulative strike of inferred veins on the project. We've only worked 10% of this area. We have the freest mine in the central area, southeast central area of the project that did produce 10 million ounces of silver before 1910 when it was shut down due to political instability. You can look at the freest mine as similar to any one of our 7 chutes in size. We've recent expansion through exploration. We now have 18 cumulative veins that are of near-term exploration drilling. We've extended the project, extended the potential to the north, almost a kilometer. And up there we have trenching that has up to 3 kilograms silver. We've extended it on the right picture. We've extended it to the south, and we have 2 targets up to 2.4 kilometers previous than known before that run up to 5.5 kilograms. Regional exploration, we're doing airborne radiometrics and magnetics. We have 5 mining areas on the project, so we'll be able to look at the response of those mining areas and know where to go to the same response for exploration areas. The significance of this slide really is that we think we have a telescoped epithermal orogenic. The obvious advantage of orogenic is orogenic veins mineralization can go to a kilometer, 2 kilometers or more. Again, narrow veins altogether, but there's in almost all areas where we have high angle veins, they're grouped in a package. In this case, we can take these 3 veins together, just bench desktop compositing. This comes up with 15 meters at 450 equivalent silver per ton. Very high chute density of about 400 meters. If we establish this as a regular spacing, then we can make our drilling a lot more systematic and hopefully have more discoveries with less drilling as we go forward. The high angle veins are probably 70% of the potential, but they are connected by low angle veins that they themselves can be very large and of extremely high grade. Here's another case where the low angle veins can be composited together, and you can get about 6.5 meters of 350 grams equivalent silver per ton. This is just a scale and narrow vein comparison. Just quickly compare Santa Ana in the shaded column to Silvercorp's Ying mine, roughly the same average width. We have about 3 times their grade, but even so, and they're mining mainly shrinkage stopes at 1.2 meters with alpha resu stopes, which is a sophisticated method of mining narrow veins. They're producing for $7 equivalent ounce silver. Part of that's an advantage of labor, but Colombia also has good labor costs pre-mine training. If you just look quickly at us in relation to Vizsla, again, about 3 times the average grade. So there is a narrow vein advantage. You have a lot lower capex. You have a lot faster build up to production. Your sole focus is on preserving grade, smaller equipment, producing a lot higher grade, a lot less waste, a lot less material coming out of the mine, and then of course a lot less to mill. It's more environmentally sustainable because of the size of leach pads and related facilities. Again, you can compare us to Silvercorp's Ying mine, 0.7 meters, mining for less than mining for $7 equivalent an ounce, or you can compare us to Orcana's Rore mine, entirely resu or narrow selective mining. At the feasibility study was at $8 per equivalent ounce silver. There's also some innovative methods for mining that don't involve blasting. You can convert, or you can use essentially raised bores to actually mine to successfully take out columns of ore between levels. I'll talk quickly about MALLAMA. MALLAMA is another world-class vein system. It's in Nariño. We're bringing it along slower. It's a little bit more difficult situation because it's with some indigenous, so we've had some special social programs to relate to the resguardos in the area. Basically, 9,000 hectares entirely owned. It's in the same regional mineral belt as Cascabel in Ecuador. It's basically a trend of elephant country. It's adjacent to the Diamante mine, which is the highest grade silver mine in Colombia, and we have about 40 veins identified there. We've had the fortune to get underground with some of the informal miners, enough to where we know that they're mining about 22.5 grams gold and 200 grams silver, completely non-selectively. So our near-term focus there is to legalize the miners and to bring them in as a support for us to do exploration there, and then work with the A&M on that process, and also work with social programs. Again, you can put a straight line between between Junín-Laramagua, Cascabel, and Majama. That reason is a structural belt that's just had repeated events of mineralization, and you have the potential for deposits. This is where we've been able to get underground. There's about 4 or 5 production portals in this area, and basically what this presents to us is immediate drill targets where you could quickly start blocking out potential resource areas based on what the miners have been mining. This just as an illustration of where we've got underground on the Bombona zone. The Bombona zone is composed of about 8 veins, about 4 to 6 kilometers long. There's actually 3 more of these zones on the project. JICA, which is the Japanese International Economic Assistance Agency, has actually done work there to map to do extensive soil sampling and thus map the veins. In total, there's about 40 kilometers of veins in the say 4 or 5 kilometers around square kilometers around this area. Basically, the entire project is provides targets. We've got recon sampling over a good part of the project, at least of open portals. Most of them some artisan miners have been working. The values range from 11 to 73 grams gold per ton and 75 to 1,400 grams silver per ton. Social responsibility is a challenge and something you have to do well in Colombia because of the lack of modern mining. We know we've been successful on our CSR because we were able to receive drill permits in Santa Ana in only 2 months, and we've continued to drill from hole 1 to hole 160 some odd holes without really any revision of the permit, just regular reporting of water use. Some innovative things we've done is we've worked with a nonprofit to provide 400 wheelchairs to the northern area municipality of Tolima, of Jalán in Tolima. We've done some microcap business startups, starting with beekeeping, and we're doing primary and secondary education for adults and urban and rural vegetable plots due to malnourishment in some parts of the area. Our catalyst will be in Santa Ana. We'll continue to drill. We have 15,000 meters under design. So that will produce a news flow of assays from 1,200 meters to 2,400 meters per month. We'll also test and define the limits of open mineralization. We think that the chutes we have now, we can take them probably double their depth extent, and thus double their volume. We're working on improved geologic and exploration models to actually test vein intersections, particularly of the low and high angle, and hopefully see some thicker widths and even higher grade than what we're seeing. And then we'll generate additional targets. And that 15,000 meters, that'll hopefully move us towards sort of the 12 chute hurdle that we see as be in the time frame to make a resource estimation decision. Other projects, Majama, like I say, we're bringing it forward slowly to drill permit stage for either us to do a scout program or the joint venture. We're advancing our Helia, which is another high-grade system, to joint venture. And then we do have very interesting projects immediately adjacent to Agnico and B2 Gold. We hope we can generate some discussion on joint venture with those companies. That about covers it.
Okay, are you ready for some questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can you just go over the public and private royalties on the project?
There is a 3.8% effective royalty to the government, and there is a 2% royalty on a portion of the new acquisitions, say 80% of the project, but of which 1% can be bought for $500,000.
Excellent. Another question just came in. Do you have are these veins pure silver or gold?
There is some local combined lead and zinc up to 1%, but by and large, when we say equivalent silver, we're talking about gold and silver at about 70 to 80 to 1, and then in a few local areas there'll be a zinc and lead credit.
Okay. Why do you think these are orogenic veins versus epithermal?
Epithermal. Well, we know we have epithermal up top. We've even lately seen adularia. We've seen banding. We've seen, the typical banded black sulfide argentites. But then as you go down relief on the property, you get more massive looking veins. You still have high gold and silver tenure, but you lose the epithermal textures. I don't think we've actually drilled outside of the epithermal zones, but I think we've prospected lower than the epithermal zones.
Okay. Do you have agreements with the local communities, or is that covered by ESG?
Yeah, I mean, basically, irrespective of permitting licenses, which of course we have, you need the social licenses to support that. We're doing that outboard ahead as we work, and I would say we have good support of the community of Falan and the municipality of Falan to continue working.
Okay. Please send in your questions. We'll turn over to Adam, who will pick it up from here.
All right. How you doing, Joe? You guys hear me?
Good. How are you?
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. So, Joe, how long have you been down in Colombia?
Myself?
Yeah.
I actually started working in Colombia in 1997, and those were the hairy days when you had to dodge the car bombs. But what I did is I kept track of the guys I worked with. A lot of them were junior geologists at the time, and then I've been down in Colombia almost 9 years. Up until COVID, I have an apartment there. Up until COVID, I was down there minimum 2 weeks a month.
Mm-hmm. And can you maybe tell us a little bit about the other success stories, permitting and success stories in Colombia over the last decade, and how that gives you confidence, that the country is open to permitting and open to foreign investment?
Well, Colombia has never had taken a property from a private party in its history. I think the biggest evidence, besides our ability to permit in 2 months and continue drilling, we had one other project we were able to permit and drill a number of years ago. Prior to that, we were entirely joint venture, so our partners were doing the permitting. But I think the biggest support of and what's bringing the majors back into Colombia for another round is the fact that 6 modern mines have been permitted, and probably what's most important is they've permitted the B2's Gramalote mine, which is going to be a very large open pit in the central Andes. So mines are getting permitted, permits are being granted to drill, and depending on where you are in the country, you can have a fairly high support of mining, because it's sort of a what do I want to say, that it's been informal small mining, but it's sort of a cultural attraction to people. They want to work in mines.
And can you discuss, whether the permitting is on a federal basis, on a provincial basis, and sort of how that all works?
The permitting is on a department basis. I think there's 12 or 14 departments in Colombia. Other than the most stringent seems to be working with the environmental agency, especially as regards to water. Like I say, we put in our permit, had it within 2 months. We haven't had a hitch we've drilled under that same permit continuously. And what we do is we do water use reports if we do take water from an open non-private source, and then we have to certify that we haven't had any toxic discharge from the drill rig.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I'm sorry. It's area to area, but I can just say in most of Antioquia and most of North Tolima, they're very good areas to work.
And maybe you could give us a better insight into your thought process about having a target of 12 shoots before you put out your first resource.
Sure. Our exploration objective is basically 60 million ounces equivalent minimum. And if you, like I say, that's an exploration objective based on internal modeling. That wouldn't be, a compliant resource by any sense. But I'll remind you about the freest mine. The freest mine on our project looks a lot like one of our chutes, and that produced 10 million ounces. So just doing the simple arithmetic of cumulative combined strike, depth and width and grams and specific gravity, you can come up with a reasonable, geologic type estimate.
Mm-hmm. And, what's your thought process as far as targeting new shoots versus trying to get some holes into some of your existing high-grade zones to give some better confidence of those zones? It struck me that the high grade is crazy high. So it seemed to me like, reminds me of the Las Chispas, treasure boxes. Is that, what's your thought process in sort of splitting your exploration dollars?
What we did, partly because of the cost, is we went into La Ivana and drilled it on approximately 50 meter or less, 30 to 50 meter centers. And what that established is that the grade contouring is really well behaved. I mean, most of our high grade areas where you have that plus 600 to 2 kilogram, most of those areas are supported by 6 to 8 drill holes. When you look at either the weighted average of all the significant holes, or you look at it on a shoot by shoot basis, you keep coming up with an average of 1.5 kilograms silver. And it looks like the high grade is distributed in, as it is supported by 6 to 8 holes. It looks like the high grades contour are usually about 200 meters by 200 meters. It is the least spotty high grade I've ever drilled in my life.
do they continue trending to depth like you kind of see, you know, in most orogenic systems?
They're all our deepest hole directly down dip is only 280 meters, but all the chutes are open, and all the chutes are open at high grade. We're not ready to say that we're going to get the 2 kilometers, but I would just wager that we're going to come in and drill some at depth holes for Megapozo next. In fact, I think we're doing it, and we have some assays in the lab, and it'll really surprise me if we don't have that same sort of, 200 meter plus contour of the higher grades. It just seems to really tail off well, both the thickness, so you have almost a disc shape where you're both your grade and your thickness sort of have a regular distribution.
And what's the average thickness in the high grade zones?
The average thickness overall is about 0.75 meters. But again, I was pointed out in the Roberto Tovar, usually you have close spaced veins, and some portions of them will be able to be mined together in places from 6 to 15 meters wide. It's still maintaining over 400 grams equivalent silver per ton.
Does it make sense to do off vein development then, if you're going to try to take two different veins in?
Let me hear the question again.
Does it make sense to do off vein development when you're going in there? So like your haulage is off vein versus doing on vein development and developing you're having your development on the ore itself.
Well, if you look at
maybe you have a slide.
Yeah, let me just show you. Okay, look at this. These are all go to surface. It's just a reflection of stepping off on angle holes. But these would be probably if this went to a production scenario, this is where I'm saying you have 200 meter wide zones that seem to core, and they're hit. This one here is supported by 6 holes. This one's supported by 6 holes. This one's supported by 4 or 5 holes. You would probably have a decline outside of the vein, and then you would come below on one level, and you would probably use shrink stopes where you had like 1.2 meters. That's sort of a minimum shrink stope. That's what Silver Corp uses. And then for the adjoining, say, at some point you're going to either have 2 portals, which would be okay because you would then have a exit already, an emergency exit, but you would probably have a kilometer between high angle zones. But those cross cuts would then also help you develop the 45-degree stopes between the 2.
I'm sorry, Joe, did you say a minimum mining width of 1.5 meters?
Silver Corp is doing shrink stopes at 1.2 meters.
So say 1.2 conceptually.
Yeah, and then if you have less than a half a meter, you would have to do what's called resu mining. Silvercrest is doing that. Silver Corp's doing it. Arcana's doing it. It's just a more selective method where you blow out the waste for working room. You leave the vein in the wall, and then you take the veins separately. Higher unit mining costs, but extremely high grade.
And what's the preliminary metallurgy looking like?
We haven't done metallurgy ourselves yet. I don't think it'll be. There's an operating mine to the south of us, a small private operation run by Colombians, and it's actually a fairly simple gravity up front, cyanidization of pulp, and then some amount of tails, but I don't think we're going to have a lot of tails.
You don't anticipate any problem with little bits of base metals or whatnot?
I don't have enough knowledge of the specific metallurgy to say that, but I would say that you probably have that as a concentrate by and large. I think most of the gold anyway, most of it's occluded on pyrite. I'm not sure about pyrite. It has argentiferous galena and argentiferous sphalerite. And then it has native silver, and it does have some silver sulfur salts.
So you think it's too early to say? I know I'm not holding you to anything, but maybe you have to build a mill here, with make a couple of concentrates in order to strip out the base metals and and then maybe run a CIL or something with the pyrite con or something.
Right. But I don't think it's going to be like I say, the contained value of base metals is relatively speaking pretty low, and the real value is gold at 8.5 grams, silver at 860 grams on average, and about 70 to 80 to 1.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking more about your any potential recovery issues and the upfront mill costs. If you're going to have to build a mill with to make 3 concentrates in order to deal with the base metals, to even though they're irrelevant from a revenue basis, you still have to deal with them on a capital and an operating cost basis.
Right. I can't offer I don't have enough test work to offer a educated opinion on that.
Why don't you guys do a bulk sample? I mean, some of the stuff comes close to the surface.
Yeah, we're going to. It's just what we've been focused on is just, expanding the potential resource, but we have plans of doing that before the end of the first quarter of 2022.
I mean, it looks like from the San Antonio shoot, you can just, go in there with a backhoe and get a bulk sample.
Yeah, or the Roberto Tovar you can access. It doesn't show, it's misleading of the picture, but there's actually 2 added stacked on top of each other in ore right there, or I'm sorry, in high grade right there too.
You need a special permit to take a bulk sample?
I think you would have to permit, a bulk sample because it's moving significant amount of material, but I don't think it would be a very big hurdle to get that done.
Could you process it? Is there a place to process that in Colombia?
I'm sorry, is the test work? Do we do the test work in Colombia or?
Can you the test work for a bulk sample? Can you do that in Colombia?
I'm not sure if I would. Yeah, you would probably. you would probably do all the prep for the sample in Colombia, but I'm not sure you would do it in Colombia. But on the other hand, just because I'm not sure how much has been done, what I'd have to do is check with, the guys at Barutica, the guys at Antioquia Gold, and see what they're doing. Because I think these are intermediate sulfidation things, and they're largely a knockoff from one to the other. But what I should do is I should probably email me, and I'll try to get you a better answer for that.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't want to go over my skis on the metallurgy if I don't know. I don't think it's going to be refractory in any significant sense whatsoever, but I don't know yet. I have to be honest with you.
I hear you. So you think, Joe, 12 months of drilling, then you can, and maybe a bulk sample, and then maybe maybe get a maiden resource, and then PEA?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, there's so few properties out there that actually have taken to the PEA stage, and it's not that harder to go, to do a PEA once you've done the resource and the metallurgical work.
Yeah, I mean, and so 12 months. So say 12 months of drilling. What's your assuming you hit your, let's just say you get your 12 additional shoots, in 12 months, how do you envision the plan after that?
I would say if we had the 12 shoots at the rate we're drilling, those would be identified at about the density that these potential resource or shoot areas are now. And then we would come in, subject to financing, we would come in aggressively, with several rigs and bang out the delineation type stuff if we were in the position to do that.
So maybe a second year to get the infill drilling in order to take it up to measured, or?
Yeah, I'd say that's I don't want to get ahead of the game, because we're still in the exploration stage, and we don't know what's going to happen exactly. The exploration objective is 12 shoots, where we think we would give us a cumulative number that would be attractive to the market. I think you could probably actually do the delineation in less than 12 months after the decision to go ahead with the resource, and then I'm not sure how long a PEA would take. Because
maybe each of these shoots, could you really do a lot of the delineation from sort of one pad per shoot?
Yeah, you could come in and you could. We do have to reclaim the stations, but it's not that. The material's there, so you could pretty much do the delineation from one shoot. For the deeper offsets, would have to step off another 100 meters or so, but then those would be used for delineate. Could be used for infill and delineation also.
What's your drilling budget for the next 12 months?
Our drill costs are about $160 a meter, all in direct, and we're going to drill 15,000 meters probably.
Is that going to make up? Do you have additional? Can you give me an estimate of your additional fixed costs? Over the next 12 months on top of the exploration drilling and assaying and whatnot.
I'm sorry. That would be all drilling. If you took all Santa Ana project costs, it would be about 210 a meter.
So 210 really, that's really the all-in.
Yeah, that would be like everything. That'd be about 3.1 million for the 15.
And what's your cash on the balance sheet?
Our last reported is 7.8, and we've got a little north of 4 million, I think.
All right. I see we're coming towards the top of our hour. Let me flip it back to Campbell in case there's questions from the audience.
Yep, I have a few. What is the minimum quantity target for a maiden resource estimate?
I think the project, in the sense of an pure exploration objective, in the time frame we were just discussing, would be 60 to 80 million equivalent silver. That's a geologic appraisal of the potential and what we're seeing, and just doing the simple block modeling we're doing and forecasting that forward with 12 shoots.
Okay. Are the high-grade narrow vein successes made by Silvercrest in Mexico a possible analog to OCG?
Yeah, I'd say definitely. Silvercrest is going to employ resu mining, shrink stopes. So I would say very similar. It's in China, but it's very similar, of course, to Silver Corp. It's easier mining than Arcana's Ore mine. They can, you can certainly with high grade narrow veins have a low all-in sustaining cost, and especially due to the fact that we can composite parts of these veins together and have relatively, a balance of, at least locally, some fairly high bulk tonnage production, and then balance that with narrow resu mining, and then balance that with high production shrink stopes.
Okay, very good. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please share your feedback here or in by email afterwards, or when you log out. I think you get queued to share some commentary. And please share this link. It'll work for the replay in about an hour and a half. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to you, Joe, to close us.
Okay. Well, I just appreciate the opportunity to be here and appreciate the opportunity to present. I do think from a geologic perspective, we're building a future mine here. I think it's a great project. I think we barely scratched the surface, and we've got probably 60 kilometers of veins long term to do exploration on.
Very good. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and share your feedback. And we'll till we meet again. Thanks, Joe. Bye now.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.